e4, c5, knight f3, knight c6, d4, c takes d4, knight takes d4, knight f6, knight c3, e5, knight d b5, d6, bishop g5, a6, knight a3, b5, knight d5, bishop e7, bishop takes f6, bishop takes f6, c3, rook b8, knight c2, bishop g5, a4, b takes a4, knight cb4, knight takes b4, c takes b4, bishop d7, bishop takes a6, castle kingside, bishop c4, king h8, b3, a takes b3, queen takes b3, queen e8, castle kingside, bishop d8, b5, f5, e takes f5, bishop takes b5, rook fd1, bishop h4, bishop takes b5, rook takes b5, queen a4, bishop d8, knight c3, rook a5, queen takes e8, rook takes e8, rook takes a5, bishop takes a5, knight e4, bishop b4, knight takes d6, rook f8, knight c4, rook takes f5, knight takes e5, h5, knight f3, bishop c5, h4, bishop e7, rook d3, bishop f6, g3, king h7, king g2, rook b5, rook d6, rook f5, rook a6, rook d5, rook a4, king g6, knight g1, king f5, rook f4, check, king e6, knight h3, g6, rook a4, rook d7, rook a6, check, king f7, knight f4, rook b7, rook a3, rook d7, Rook f3. Rook d6. Rook b3. Rook d7. Rook a3. Rook b7. Knight d5. Rook d7. Rook d3. Bishop e5. King f3. Rook a7. Rook b3. King e6. Knight e3. Rook f7 check. King e4. Bishop c7. f4. Rook e7. Rook b5. King f7 check. King f3. King g7. Knight c4. Rook f7. Rook c5. Rook e7. Rook c6. King f7. King f2. Rook d7. King g2. King g7. King f3. Rook e7. Knight e3. Rook f7. Rook e6. Bishop d8. Knight d5. Rook a7. Rook d6. Bishop e7. Rook c6. King f7. King e4. Bishop d8. Rook c8. Bishop f6. Rook c4. Bishop d8. King e5. Rook a3. Rook c8. Bishop a5. f5. G takes f5. King takes f5. Rook f3 check. King e5. Rook takes g3. Rook a8. Bishop e1. Rook a7 check. King e8. King e6. Rook g6 check. King f5. Rook g1. King e6. Rook g6 check. King f5. Rook g1. Rook a1. King f7. Knight f4. Bishop f2. Rook takes g1. Bishop takes g1. Knight takes h5. Bishop f2. Knight f4.